Welcome back to the Wittenberg Academy's Greek 1 course. We're ready for Lesson 1 in Gleason's Greek Primer. It's on page 17. Voice. The Greek verb has 3 voices: the active voice, the middle voice, and the passive voice. The active and passive are, as in Latin or English, the middle denotes that the subject acts upon himself for his own benefit. So in English, I kick the ball, that's active voice. I'm doing something. I was kicked by the man, that's passive voice. The subject is acted upon. I was kicked. And then in the middle voice would be like in English, we would do that with reflexive. We would say, I kicked the ball for myself. Okay. Mood. There are 4 proper or finite moods: the indicative, subjunctive, optative, and imperative. There are also infinitives and participles, as in Latin, and verbal adjectives in tos and teos. The indicative mood is I went to the store. The subjunctive mood is talks about, might I go to the store? The optative mood, may I go to the store someday? And the imperative mood, go to the store. We'll introduce all these as we come upon them. Don't worry about memorizing them now. There are 7 tenses: the present, I eat; the future, I will eat; the perfect, I have eaten; the future perfect, I will have eaten; the imperfect, I was eating; the aorist, I ate; and the pluperfect, I had eaten. The first 4 are called primary tenses, the other secondary. Again, this is just a very brief overview. Don't worry about digesting or memorizing all this right now. The aorist corresponds to the Latin historical perfect as elusa, he loosed, elusa. The perfect to the English present perfect or Latin perfect definite as lelica, he has loosed. Number. There are 3 numbers: the singular and plural as in Latin, and the dual, which denotes 2 objects. Now, we're not going to learn any dual forms. The dual really only occurs in Homer, and so we have a separate Homeric Greek course where we would learn more of that. For now, we're only going to use the singular and plural forms. There are 3 persons, as in Latin and as in English. The first person, I and we. The second person, you and y'all. They have a second person plural. And third person, he, she, or it, and they. Verbs have recessive accent. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Okay, well, here is our first form to make. The present indicative active. And here is how I would recommend that you make this flashcard. Okay, so you have the singular in one column and the plural in the other column, and first, second, and third person as you see them listed here. And I actually would encourage you to make 2 cards. One with the whole form of the word, and then maybe another one just with the endings. So looking at our book on page 18, section 45, this is the present indicative active of luo. So it goes, so you can repeat after me: luo, lues, lue, luamen, lueta, luusi. So again, luo, lues, lue, luamen, lueta, luusi. And then if you wanted to do just the endings, o, ace, a, omen, eta, usi. And so you can see next to it, he's given you also another paradigm verb, ago, and you see the endings are the same: ago, ages, age, agamen, agata, agusi, o, ace, a, omen, eta, usen. You simply have to learn that. You have to memorize it. You have to be able to write it from scratch when you're given a blank piece of paper. If your mother comes in and wakes you up at 2 o'clock in the morning and says, tell me the present indicative active forms of luo, you need to be able to say luo, lues, lue, luamen, lueta, luusi. You have to learn them that well. The bulk of your efforts and energies in Greek 1 will be devoted to memorizing paradigm forms and vocabulary. There's no way around it. I cannot emphasize it enough. You must learn the forms. Notice that in the inflection of luo above, The syllable lu appears in every form. This is the verb stem or theme. Compare the endings of the Greek verb with those of the Latin. Well, we're not going to worry about Latin. You can take the Latin course if you like. If you've had Latin in the past, this might, when he mentions Latin, that might be interesting to you. The Greek endings are made up of so-called variable vowel, omicron or epsilon, and the personal endings. Don't worry about that. Learn simply the endings o, ace, a, amen, eta, usi. Okay. 46. Inflect, as above, the present indicative active of the following common verbs. Balo. So that would be balo, bales, bale, balamen, balata, balusi. And grapho. Grapho, graphes, graphe, graphamen, graphata, graphusi. So you can practice those, and of course you'll need to add these words as vocabulary cards. And I have a Latin vocabulary card here, but this is how I encourage you to do vocabulary cards. So you can have 20 vocabulary words on one card. You can do them any way you like, but I find flashcards to be very helpful, and this to be a very efficient way to do them. So you need to memorize these vocabulary words. Balo, I throw. Grapho, I write. Echo, I have or I hold. Meno, I remain. Pempo, I send. Fugo or feugo, I flee. So 6 vocabulary words to learn. And now we're ready for section 47 on page 19. What I encourage you to do is pause the tape before each one of these sentences and do your very best to write out the translation. And then come back and I'll go over, sentence 1 and give you the correct translation. Okay? So go ahead and pause the tape now and try to translate sentence 1 in paragraph 47. Alright, ages. If you look back on the chart, you can see it's second person singular, so that's you lead. Bale. That ending is third person singular, so that's he throws. Okay, if you want to pause the tape now and try the rest of the sentences, or continue to pause the tape before each sentence and come back and check your work, start the tape and then I'll go through all these answers presently. So number 2, fugamen, that's we flee. Eketa, that's y'all have. Agusi, they lead. Pempo, I send. Fugita, y'all flee. Graphusi, they write. Bales, you throw. Echomen, we have. Eches, you have. Pempusi, they send. Graphata, y'all write. Mene, she stays, or he stays, or it stays. Lue, he looses. Eche, he has. Ages, you go. Write in Greek with the proper accent. You can practice this changing into Greek. It is very helpful, and you can do this very easily from the chart. It'll help you practice writing your letters and practice thinking through. And so he sends, that'd be pempe. They send, pempusi. You write, graphes. We flee, fugamen. So you can practice that. I won't always, as we go through, I won't always spend a lot of time with these translations into Greek, simply because I don't want you to spend too much time bogged down in exercises. These exercises, these little translations are helpful, but at this point in your Greek studies, I would much rather have you spend your time memorizing vocabulary and memorizing paradigms. We'll have all the time in the world, Lord willing, to learn good translation and composition skills. Right now, you're at the beginning of your course. You really need to work hard on translations. So you might want to go back, watch the video again, make your cards, study your vocab, study your forms, then you'll be ready for a quiz on lesson 1.